I still remember the exact second everything changed. It was a Tuesday night, the kind of slow, uneventful Tuesday where nothing is supposed to happen at all. I was sitting on the edge of the bed with my phone in my hand, half watching some show I had already seen twice, when my girlfriend, Jenna, walked out of the bathroom with 2 mugs of tea and this look on her face, this quiet, mischievous, slightly nervous look that I had learned to recognize over 3 years meant she was about to say something I would either love or absolutely hate. She set my mug down on the nightstand, climbed onto the bed beside me, swung her legs across my lap, and said in the softest, most casual voice in the world, almost like she was asking me whether I wanted Chinese food for dinner, "Baby, would you ever try wearing something of mine, just once, just to see how it feels?" I stared at her. I blinked. I actually felt my brain short-circuit for a second because the question was so unexpected, so off to the side of anything I had ever imagined her saying, that for a moment I genuinely thought she was joking or testing me or maybe about to show me something on her phone. But she wasn't. She was looking right into my eyes, completely serious, completely vulnerable, and that is the moment, that exact, quiet, slightly terrifying Tuesday night moment, that becomes the beginning of everything I am about to tell you. Because what happened next, over the slow, strange, beautiful months that followed, was not just about clothes. It was about identity. It was about the parts of me I had been quietly hiding from myself since I was maybe 13 years old, watching old movies alone in my room and feeling a pull I could never quite explain. It was about Jenna, who saw something in me before I saw it in myself, who loved me enough to ask the dangerous question, who walked beside me through every single embarrassing, humiliating, scary, and eventually freeing moment of becoming someone I could finally look at in the mirror and recognize. So if you are here because you have ever felt even a flicker of curiosity about what it would feel like to step outside the body everyone assumes you live in, if you have ever wondered what makeup would feel like on your skin, what it would be like to wear a soft fabric against your legs, what your reflection might become if you let yourself experiment just a little, then stay with me, because I am going to walk you through every single step, every mistake, every small victory, every near disaster, and I am going to be honest with you about all of it, the parts that made me feel powerful and the parts that made me want to crawl into a hole and never come out. And if you stay till the end, you will learn practical things too, things I wish someone had told me, things about skincare, about foundation matches, about posture, about walking in heels, about voice, about where to shop when you are terrified someone will laugh at you, about how to build a look that finally feels like you. Let me start at the beginning with that first terrifying yes, because that yes is where the whole story starts to breathe. After Jenna asked the question, I did what any terrified, slightly embarrassed, deeply conditioned man would do. I laughed. I laughed and said, "Me no way, babe, come on. That is crazy." And she didn't laugh back. She didn't get defensive. She just curled a strand of her hair around her finger and said, "Okay, I just thought it might be fun, no pressure at all." And the way she said no pressure at all made it instantly the highest pressure question I had ever been asked in my life. I spent the next 3 hours pretending to watch my show while my brain ran in circles. What did she mean? Was she testing me? Was she serious? Did she want me to wear her clothes for her? Was this some kind of fantasy she had never told me about? Was she losing attraction to me? Was this some kind of weird trap that women on the internet do to see if their boyfriends are secretly weird? I thought about all of it. I spiraled. And somewhere deep down, in a place I had spent almost 20 years pretending didn't exist, I felt something else too, something warm, a yes, a tiny voice saying, "What if you actually did it?" That tiny voice terrified me more than anything else. A few nights later, after work, Jenna came home with a small shopping bag and tossed it onto the couch with this half-smile that I knew meant trouble. Inside was a soft, oversized cream-colored knit sweater, a pair of black leggings, and a simple black bralette. Nothing crazy. Nothing extreme. Just the most basic, soft, comfortable women's basics she had carefully chosen because, she told me later, she wanted me to feel held, not exposed. I sat there holding the sweater in my hands for a long time. It was so soft. Softer than anything in my drawer. Softer than any t-shirt I had ever owned. And that is the first thing I want to share with you that I think genuinely helped me. Fabric is the gateway. If you have never touched a quality women's knit, a brushed cotton legging, a silk satin camisole, you are missing a sensory experience that is genuinely transformative and starting with soft, comfortable basics instead of anything dramatic is the smartest possible first step. I put the clothes on that night, very slowly, very awkwardly, with the door locked and Jenna on the other side of the room pretending to read a book, but actually watching me from above the pages with the most tender, careful expression I had ever seen on her face. The leggings were tight, but not uncomfortable. The sweater fell past my hips and felt like being wrapped in a warm cloud. The bralette was confusing at first, like, where do I even put this? But once it was on, I realized it was actually supportive in a strange, comforting way. I stood in front of our full-length mirror, and I did not recognize myself. Not because I looked like a woman, I looked like a man in women's clothes, but because the softness of the fabric, the line of the sweater on my shoulders, the way my legs looked in the leggings, the way my whole body language shifted as soon as I wasn't wearing boxy, stiff, masculine clothing, all of it told me something I had spent years refusing to hear. I was relaxing for what felt like the first time in my life. Tears came before I could stop them. Not sad tears, released tears. The kind of tears you cry when you finally exhale after holding your breath for years. Jenna came up behind me, put her arms around me, and whispered, "You look beautiful." And that is when I knew, deep in my body, that this was not going to be just one night. By the end of that first week, I had worn the outfit twice more, both times at home, both times alone with Jenna, when no one else was around. I started to notice small things. My shoulders dropped. My breathing slowed. I moved differently, more fluid, less guarded. I caught myself touching the sweater hem with my fingertips, just feeling it. I caught myself sitting cross-legged on the floor in front of the mirror instead of slouching on the couch. I caught myself wanting soft fabric against my skin all the time. And I started to think about makeup, which terrified me even more than the clothing did, because makeup felt like crossing a line I wasn't sure I could uncross. Jenna saw where my curiosity was going, as she always did, and one Friday night, after pouring me a glass of wine, she sat me down at her little vanity table and said, "Okay, today we are just going to play, no pressure, just colors." She started with the most forgiving product she owned, a tinted moisturizer, just to even out my skin, and a little bit of concealer under my eyes because, let's be honest, I had the kind of dark circles that screamed I had been emotionally repressed for a decade. She used her fingers, not a brush, because fingers are warmer, less scary, more forgiving. She dotted a tiny bit of highlighter on my cheekbones, a whisper of bronzer around my temples, and a clear brow gel to soften my brows without filling them in. No eyeshadow. No eyeliner. No lipstick. Just the softest, minimal, gender-ambiguous glow. And when I looked in the mirror again, I had to sit down. Because what I saw was not a man dressed up. What I saw was me, but calmer, softer, the version of me that had been hiding under all that performance my whole life. That was the moment I realized this was not about becoming something else. It was about becoming more of myself. After that, things started to move faster. Not because I rushed, but because once you open this door, the door does not just stay politely cracked, it swings wide. I started researching, watching tutorials by drag artists who also work with everyday crossdressers and trans women on everyday soft glam, saving looks, taking screenshots, learning about face shape, about undertone, about how to match foundation to my neck and not just my jaw so I would not have that obvious mask line that gives away first-timers immediately. Jenna and I went shopping together, which was its own adventure. I want to share what I learned there, because it is genuinely practical advice you can use today. We went to a mid-range department store on a weekday afternoon because weekday afternoons are the calmest, least crowded time to try things on, and the staff are usually too busy to stare. Jenna coached me through a few rules she had learned from her own years of fashion. First, fit matters more than style. A cheap, perfectly fitting piece will always look better than an expensive, wrong-fitting one. Second, start with darker, more forgiving colors, deep burgundy, forest green, charcoal, navy, because they hide the places where your body still has a more masculine shape and they photograph better in low light. Third, build around one piece you love. Do not try to buy a whole wardrobe at once. Fourth, sales associates are mostly cool. If you act calm, they act calm. The only person acting weird in a fitting room is you. I bought 3 pieces that day. A soft black wrap dress that nipped in at the waist and flared over my hips, a pair of dark wash high-waisted jeans that suddenly made my waist look incredible, and an oversized camel coat that felt, no joke, like wearing a hug from a very chic aunt. The first time I wore the wrap dress at home, with the soft makeup from a few nights before and my Converse sneakers because heels were still firmly in the scary future, I walked out of the bathroom, and Jenna actually gasped. She said, "Oh my God, you look like you." And for the first time in my life, I believed that was a compliment. That was the moment I understood that cross-dressing, at least for me, was not performance. It was permission. Permission to be soft. Permission to be curious. Permission to stop pretending. The next few weeks were a blur of small experiments. I learned to do my own brows in 30 seconds, just a light fill with an angled brush and a shade that matched my natural hair. I learned to line my lips with a nude liner and fill them with a sheer gloss, never dark, because dark lipstick on a beginner face reads instantly as costume. I learned that contour is not about slim or nose, it is about warmth and dimension, and less is more until you know your face. I learned that skincare is 90% of good makeup, so I started washing, toning, moisturizing, and wearing SPF every single morning, and within 2 weeks my skin looked dramatically better, which made every makeup product sit better and blend easier. I learned the difference between leggings, which now felt like my favorite clothing item on earth, and tights, which I tried once and hated because they made me feel too exposed. I learned that some fabrics photograph beautifully, but feel miserable, and the feeling matters more than the photo. I learned that I could wear my boyfriend clothes during the day, and then change into something soft and feminine at night without it being a crisis, without it meaning I had to announce anything to anyone, without the world needing to know. That private freedom was huge. It is one of the most important things I learned, and it is the part of this journey that actually saves lives because so many crossdressers, trans women, femboys, anyone exploring femininity, spend years thinking they have to go fully public or fully hidden, and the truth is there is a vast, gentle middle where you can be yourself in your own space, on your own terms, at your own pace. By month 2, I was wearing something soft at home almost every evening, and Jenna had become my partner, my cheerleader, my honest mirror. We established rules that kept us both safe and sane. No outing without telling her first. We never went anywhere we could not leave easily. We always had an exit plan and a code word if I panicked. My phone was shared with her live location on weekends when we went out. We laughed a lot. Laughing kept the whole thing from collapsing under the weight of its own seriousness. The first time we left the house together was a Saturday afternoon trip to a coffee shop 2 neighborhoods over, the kind of coffee shop that is half bookshop, half plant nursery, always quiet, always full of people too busy reading to stare. I wore the camel coat, the dark jeans, a soft cream sweater, my own Converse, and the minimal makeup I had finally learned to do in under 15 minutes. Jenna did my hair in loose waves with a curling iron because, bless her, she had watched 1,000 tutorials at this point for me. I was shaking in the bathroom while she brushed finishing powder across my cheekbones. I almost backed out. I stood at our front door for a full minute, hand on the knob, frozen, breathing too fast, convinced I was about to be spotted, laughed at, called out, humiliated. Jenna knelt down beside me, took my hand, and said, "You do not have to do this. You can take off the coat. You can take off the makeup. You can stay home. I will love you in anything." I opened the door. We walked to the coffee shop. It was a 13-minute walk. It felt like 13 years. I held Jenna's hand the whole way. I did not look anyone in the eye. I focused on the sidewalk, on the rhythm of my steps, on the fact that nobody had yelled anything, that nobody had stopped to take a photo, that a woman walking a dog smiled politely at me as we passed. I got to the coffee shop, sat at a tiny corner table, ordered a latte I barely tasted, and within 10 minutes something shifted. I relaxed. I noticed a woman at the next table reading the exact same novel I had been reading. I made a small comment about it. She smiled, and we talked for 5 minutes about the book. She had no idea I was not, in her mental category, a regular woman. She saw soft clothes, she saw confidence-ish energy, she saw a person. That was the moment cross-dressing stopped feeling like a secret and started feeling like a quiet, private truth. I was not performing femininity to deceive anyone. I was expressing a part of myself that had been locked in a basement since puberty, and the world, the real, honest world, mostly just shrugged in the kindest possible way. Over the next few weeks, we expanded our world slowly. A bookstore. A Saturday morning farmer's market, which was amazing because everyone was too busy looking at vegetables to look at me. A gallery opening where Jenna knew the curator and I could blend into the crowd behind a glass of champagne and a fake smile. Each outing taught me something new. I learned how to walk in low-block heels, just 2 inches, by practicing alone in our apartment for hours in front of a long mirror, learning to place my weight correctly, to engage my core, to take smaller steps, to keep my shoulders soft. I learned that my voice, if I just relaxed it half a tone and let it sit a little higher in my throat, sounded more naturally feminine without sounding fake. I learned that posture is everything, and that simply rolling my shoulders back, softening my elbows, letting my hands rest openly instead of in fists, changed how people perceived me almost more than my clothes did. I learned to keep my walk gentle, not performative, not swishing, just calm. I learned that eye contact with women, brief, warm, was the fastest way to be accepted as one of them in a casual setting, because women recognize other women's tiny social signals, and once they accept you, they often become fiercely protective. I also had setbacks, because no journey like this is linear. The first big setback came when my oldest friend, Mark, saw me coming out of a women's clothing store. I was holding a bag, wearing the camel coat, light makeup, my own jeans. He did not recognize me at first, and when he did, the look on his face is something I will never forget. It was not disgust, not anger, it was confusion, the kind of confused face people make when their entire mental model of someone just collapsed. He said, "Dude, is that you?" in those words, like he was checking whether reality itself was malfunctioning. I panicked. I made some terrible excuse about buying a gift for Jenna. He let it go, but I could see in his eyes that something had shifted, that a question had been planted, and that the next time he saw me, he would be watching more closely. That night, I cried for an hour. I told Jenna I couldn't do this anymore, that I was going to be exposed, that my reputation was gone, that my friend would tell my family, that everything was over. She held me through it. She reminded me that no one had actually done anything wrong, that I had bought clothes, that I had walked into a store like any other customer, that Mark's confusion was about him, not me. She also reminded me that I did not owe anyone an explanation. That night I wrote in my journal for the first time in years, this sentence, "I am allowed to take up space in the shape I actually am." That sentence changed everything. The following week, I made a decision that surprised even me. I decided to come out to Mark myself before he could come to his own conclusions. I invited him for coffee, just the two of us, and I told him the truth. I told him I had been experimenting with femininity, that it was a private part of my life, that I was still figuring it out, that I was not asking him to understand everything, just to be my friend while I figured it out. Mark sat in silence for almost 2 full minutes. Then, he said, "Bro, I don't really get it, but I love you, and if you're happy, I'm happy, just maybe let's not do shots at the bar tonight." Awkward laugh, and we moved on. That was not the big dramatic acceptance some people get from friends. It was awkward, slightly uncomfortable, but it was real, and it freed me. It freed me from the constant exhausting surveillance of wondering whether people knew, whether they were whispering, whether I was about to be exposed. A few months in, I decided to start exploring makeup more seriously. Jenna and I spent an entire Saturday doing a full face together, not to go out, just to learn, just to play. She taught me the order of operations: primer, color corrector if needed, foundation mixed with a drop of facial oil for a more skin-like finish, concealer only where I really needed it, pressed powder only in the T-zone, cream blush because powder blush on bare skin looks harsh, soft brown shadow smoked out very subtly, a thin line of black liner only on the outer third of my eye, mascara only on the outer lashes, a tinted brow gel, and a satin lip color in a shade just slightly pinker than my natural lip. 3 hours later, I looked like a softer, glowier, more polished version of myself. I posted a very private photo to a private account where I followed only supportive communities, and the kind comments that came in from strangers, women, other crossdressers, trans women, non-binary people, all of them saying I looked beautiful, I looked happy, I looked like me. They did something to me that I cannot fully explain. They gave me permission to be seen. Not by the world, just by people who understood. That was when my online community became my safety net. I started following creators who teach soft, natural femininity for everyday people, not drag, not theatrical, just real-life confidence. I learned about color seasons, about how to identify whether I was a spring, summer, autumn, or winter, which sounds silly until you try the right palette and suddenly realize why you have always hated certain colors on yourself. I learned about undertones, about how to tell whether I was warm, cool, or neutral by looking at the veins on my wrist. I learned about the magic of properly fitted underwear, how a good bra, even a bralette, completely changes the silhouette of an outfit. I learned that shapewear is optional, not mandatory, and that comfort comes first. I learned about shoe fit, about how to size up half a size for heels, about gel inserts, about breaking shoes in at home with thick socks. I learned about wig care when I finally decided to try a wig, a long, dark brown, very natural style that I ordered from a specialty shop after measuring my head circumference 3 times with a soft measuring tape. Wearing a wig for the first time was its own little drama. I did not look like myself, which was actually the point, and yet somehow I felt more like myself because my hair, which had always felt like a costume I had been forced to wear since I was a teenager, was finally just one option among many. By month 5, I had a small but real wardrobe, a routine, a community of support online, and most importantly, a deep, calm, unexplainable peace inside me that I had never felt before. The peace came not from looking a certain way, but from no longer hiding. The peace came from the fact that when I woke up in the morning, I had choices. I could wear jeans and a tee and go to work and be perfectly fine. I could come home, change into soft clothes, do my makeup, cook dinner in a wrap dress with bare feet, sit on the couch with my legs curled under me, and feel completely, authentically, wonderfully like me. Both versions were me. Neither was a costume. Both were real. That is the deepest truth I can share with anyone listening. Femininity, masculinity, whatever you want to call it, is not a costume. It is a frequency, and you are allowed to live on any frequency that feels like home. There were bigger turning points after that. The first time I went out alone without Jenna was a huge one. I picked a weekday afternoon, a quiet bookshop I had visited before, and I drove myself there, parked in the far corner of the lot, sat in the car for 10 minutes breathing, walked in with my small crossbody bag, my camel coat, a soft sweater, dark jeans, low block heels I could actually walk in, minimal natural makeup, and my hair in a low bun. I browsed quietly for an hour, bought a novel and a small bouquet of eucalyptus, drove home, sat in my car in the driveway, and cried with relief. I had done it alone. That was the day I realized this was not Jenna's project, it was mine, and she had simply been brave enough to hand me the door. Another turning point came when Jenna told me she wanted me to come out to her parents, not as a big dramatic announcement, just casually, just so they knew this part of our life existed. We flew to her parents' house for a long weekend. I packed clothes for both versions of myself, men's clothes for the travel day, soft feminine clothes for the evenings. On the second night, after dinner, I sat in the living room with her mom and her dad, wearing a soft sage dress I had fallen in love with, and I told them, gently, that I had been exploring this side of myself for the past several months, that I was happier than I had ever been, and that I wanted them to know. Her mom was quiet. Her dad was quiet. Her dad left the room for a minute, which terrified me, and came back with 2 glasses of wine. Her mom said, "Well, you look lovely, sweetheart," and that was that. Not the Hollywood acceptance some people get. Not the dramatic standoff their family members picture when they imagine coming out. Just a quiet, slightly strange, but ultimately warm moment in a living room with wine. Another turning point came from the other direction. Jenna's brother, who I had always gotten along with, came to visit unexpectedly one weekend. I had not come out to him yet. I was at home in soft clothes and light makeup when he knocked. I panicked. I ran to the bedroom, changed into jeans and a hoodie, washed my face, took a deep breath, and opened the door. He walked in, hugged me, said, "Hey bro," then sniffed the air and said, "Is that perfume?" And I almost collapsed. I played it off. He did not push. Later that week, I told him the truth too, in a long phone call, and his response was, "Bro, I literally do not care, just tell me what wine to bring next time." We laughed, and that was it. By the end of that year, my life had been quietly, profoundly transformed. I had a wardrobe I loved. I had a soft glam routine I could do in 20 minutes that made me feel gorgeous. I had a small circle of friends who knew, who didn't care, who still loved me. I had a partner who had become not just my girlfriend, but my dearest friend, my collaborator, my most honest mirror. And I had a peace inside me that I had spent 31 years believing I would never feel. If there is one thing I want anyone watching this to truly hear, it is this: you are allowed to take up space in the shape you actually are. You are allowed to wear the soft fabric. You are allowed to put on the gentle makeup. You are allowed to walk a little slower. You are allowed to breathe. You do not owe the world a performance of masculinity you were forced into. You do not owe anyone a dramatic coming-out speech. You can move at your own pace. You can be private. You can be public. You can be somewhere in between. You can go to a coffee shop alone. You can stay home with a glass of wine, soft leggings, a candle, and a movie. You can be both. You can be neither. You can be becoming. The world I found on the other side of those first terrifying yes moments is not a different world. It is the same world, but I am finally in it, fully, completely, wonderfully, as myself. Now let me share a few practical lessons, the kind I wish someone had whispered into my ear that first Tuesday night when Jenna asked her impossible question. Start with skincare, not makeup. A clean, hydrated, sun-protected face makes every single product that comes after it sit better, blend better, photograph better, and feel better on your skin. Wash morning and night with a gentle cleanser. Tone if your skin likes it. Moisturize. Always wear SPF, even indoors, even on cloudy days, because SPF is the single biggest anti-aging product you can ever use, and it also protects your skin from the hyperpigmentation that some foundations can make worse. Learn your undertone before you buy foundation. Stand near a window in natural light. Look at the veins on the inside of your wrist. If they look blue or purple, you are cool. If they look green, you are warm. If you can't tell, you are neutral. Buy foundation with that undertone. Mix 2 shades if you need to get the perfect match. Always blend foundation down your neck. Never stop at the jawline. Never leave that telltale mask. Less is more until you know your face. A tinted moisturizer, a touch of concealer, a cream blush, a soft brow, a satin lip, that is more than enough for an everyday look that reads as polished, but not made up. The goal at the beginning is glow, not transformation. Your posture matters more than your clothes. Roll your shoulders back. Soften your elbows. Walk at a calm pace. Place your feet heel to toe instead of stomping. Keep your hands open, never clenched. These tiny adjustments change how people read you instantly, and they also change how you feel inside your own body. Your voice is a muscle. If you want to experiment, just relax your throat half a tone, smile slightly when you speak, breathe from your diaphragm instead of your chest, and let your pitch settle where it feels natural. Do not force a falsetto. That reads as performance, and you want to read as comfort. Shoes are an investment. Always size up half a size for heels. Always buy gel inserts. Always break shoes in at home with thick socks before you wear them out. Always start with a low block heel, 2 inches max, until your ankles and calves are strong enough for anything higher. Fit is everything. A cheap, perfectly fitting garment will always look better than an expensive, badly fitting one. Tailoring is your secret weapon. A small alteration can turn a thrift store find into something that looks like it cost 4 times more. Build a wardrobe slowly, around one piece you love. Do not try to buy everything at once. Do not chase trends. Do not buy anything you would not have bought last month when you had a clear head. Find your people. Whether it is one trusted friend, one partner, one private online community, one anonymous group chat, find somewhere you can be seen without judgment. The mirror is important, but being seen by someone who genuinely accepts you is what actually changes your life. Move at your own pace. Some people go fully public in months. Some people stay private for years. There is no right timeline. The only right timeline is the one your nervous system can tolerate, with safety, with planning, with support, with an exit plan. Learn the language of safety. Always tell someone where you are. Always have a code word. Always have money and a way to leave. Always trust your gut. If a place feels wrong, leave. If a person feels wrong, leave. Your safety is more important than your look. And this is the most important one. Enjoy it. This is not a punishment. This is not a clinical exercise. This is not a secret you have to confess. This is you, finally letting yourself bloom in a direction you have probably been quietly trying to bloom in for years. Enjoy the mirror. Enjoy the soft fabric. Enjoy the quiet moment of brushing powder across your cheekbones. Enjoy the first time you feel your hips move differently because you are wearing something that lets them. Enjoy the first time a stranger smiles at you on the street and you realize she thinks you are one of her, and you are. Enjoy the peace that comes from finally being allowed to be yourself in your own home, in your own body, in your own life. That peace is the whole point. If you have stayed with me all the way to this part of the video, if you're sitting somewhere right now and your heart is beating a little faster because you just heard yourself in my story, I want you to know something. You are not alone. There are millions of us, quietly in bedrooms, in apartments, in bathrooms with locked doors, putting on soft clothes for the first time, brushing on a little powder, looking in the mirror, feeling the same terrifying, beautiful tears I felt that first night. We are not a spectacle. We are not a punchline. We are not a scandal. We are people who finally felt brave enough to answer a question we had been afraid of for years, and we are happier on the other side than we ever knew was possible. If you are watching this and you are not yet ready to take any step, that is okay. Watching is a step. Curiosity is a step. Watching a stranger online tell their story with kindness is a step. Reading the comments later is a step. Liking this video is a step. You do not have to do anything today except know that you are seen, that you are not broken, that there is a soft, warm, beautiful version of this journey waiting for you whenever you are ready. And if you are watching this and you are already on the journey, already out, already living your truth, then thank you. Thank you for showing me I was not alone back when I needed to know that most. And please, in the comments, share one small thing that helped you, one product, one posture tip, one phrase, one moment of peace. None of us made it here alone. We all walked a little further because someone else walked first. Jenna is asleep next to me right now as I write this. I am in soft leggings, an oversized sweater, and a candle is burning. I look, on paper, like the boyfriend who refused to wear women's clothes that first Tuesday night. But I am not that person anymore. I am not a different person either. I am just finally the person I always was, allowed to be the person I always was. And that is the most ordinary, beautiful, transformative truth I have ever known. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for trusting me with 13 minutes of your life. Thank you for letting me tell you the story of how one quiet, terrifying question on one slow Tuesday night turned into the entire rest of my life. If this story moved you even a little, if it taught you something, if it made you feel a little less alone, please like this video. Please subscribe. Please share it with one person you trust, because somewhere out there right now, another person is sitting on the edge of a bed, holding a soft sweater in their hands, shaking a little, wondering if they're allowed. They're allowed. They were always allowed. They just needed someone to tell them. I am glad I got to be that someone for 13 minutes. Take care of yourself. Be soft when you need to be soft. Be brave when you need to be brave. And remember, you are allowed to take up space in the shape you actually are.